Beers and Banter, episode 10. They said we couldn't do it. Here we are, milestone episode. Back for another week. Joined in the studio in the sweaty box, as always. Big Dilsey, how are we?
Big Red, we made it. Number 10.
What an achievement.
Unbelievable.
Mate,
Still on the air.
Buzzing, absolutely buzzing. Need a beer, celebratory beer. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, mate. Bolter this week.
Yeah, I got in trouble for pouring beers over the top of the laptop. So
It's not a great idea. Especially the way you pour.
dead air, that's no good.
Good pour. How was your weekend, mate?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Started with a long game of golf on Friday with plenty of beers, and then into the Titans victory Friday
Correct.
afternoon. Then I enjoyed the Knights game. Talking a bit of soccer on the Saturday. New puppy on the Sunday.
New puppy.
All round good weekend.
Very good, mate.
Yeah, huge. What about yourself?
Mate, I was in Brisbane on Saturday night for a charity gala ball, which was good. And back Sunday, watched a bit of sport.
Did you dance? Did you have your dancing shoes on at the gala?
I think so. Yeah, it's all a bit of a blur past 10 p.m., but I think so.
Nice.
So, yeah, mate, good weekend. Plenty of sport. Plenty of news with the Origin sides being picked. So,
All right. Well, we're going to get into all of that. I want to kick off on the Titans, though, because it really makes my weekend when they have a win. If they lose, I usually basically switch off and don't want to watch sports for the rest of the weekend, but there was plenty on.
well, they won and they won well, didn't they?
They did. And I don't know, where's that been? We're not supposed to beat Manly, and we show up their home ground, give them plenty,
Well, obviously, the effect of Big Mao coming out saying he's going to do a mid-season review.
which they claim they didn't even really know about or didn't. It's not the motivator.
Well,
They got the same email we did as members, apparently.
hard for them not to know that it's been announced. It was all over the local papers and in the news.
Surely they knew they were under threat before that.
When you watch them every week, there was a significant difference in that game.
My question is, though, what's Mel reviewing? Hasn't he been there for the last 6 months?
He has.
Hasn't he been watching and paying attention? And isn't
Should be an ongoing review. Is that what you say?
Well, I thought that was already his job, was to make sure that we were pissing excellence. Basically, it's not been happening.
No, well, yeah. I mean, he came to the club last year or the end of last year and said that only success will be accepted.
Yeah,
It's taken us to 2-8 to get this outcome for him to react. So
signs of improvement. I think we got a couple of lucky. I was half cut watching the game, so my analysis isn't brilliant, but I feel like we probably got the rub of the green, whereas sometimes we don't.
yeah, we did. We got the ball bounce our way a couple of times.
A couple of forward passes that I would have called.
But as I say, we definitely improved. We probably got Manly at the right time too. Admittedly, they've been up for a few weeks with a lot of injuries, so we probably got them at the right time. But take a win where you can.
Definitely. You and me were going backwards and forwards while the game was on. 1 minute Taylor's in the team, next minute he's out. I feel like Roberts should be the guy on $1 million a year. He's the one running the team, and Ash is sort of the support player at the moment.
Yeah, I thought Taylor was better,
It was, yeah.
but you're right when you sit back and say, this bloke's on $1 million a year. You sort of need that performance every week, not just.
He was gone, and then he threw that 30-metre pass.
Yeah, that was a good pass.
Probably an even better take from Copley to score in the corner. It was pretty good.
Yeah, no, we need to see that every game the rest of the year from him to warrant that sort of money.
Yeah, he
but
did.
I mean, Roberts is outstanding. His halves partner, he's been a good pickup back from England.
Very good.
And I thought AJ Brimson was good again
Yeah.
at fullback. Interesting to see what happens to Gordon when he's fit again, whether he slots straight back into fullback.
Big Mo was quality on the weekend.
Yeah, he's a superstar already, isn't he?
He could be the Titans' answer to Jason Tomololo.
Yeah,
He's going good.
Build your front row off around him. He's a gun.
Flow that into a packed house at, I think it's McDonald Jones.
Yep, Newcastle.
That was unreal.
Yeah, that was a big game, wasn't it?
Normally, Knights v Roosters, I would probably not even bother watching. Not a lot of interest in that, but just the whole atmosphere that they had going. Obviously, it was a bit chirpy after the Titans win, so I flowed straight into the Roosters v Knights. And it was a cracking game, and you thought, the Roosters are going to come back here. And then there's a point in the second half there where you could just tell the Knights had too much energy. They were running off that crowd hardcore. They were never going to get beaten.
There was no doubt they were going to be out for that game. You know, they'd won a few in a row up against the Roosters, the benchmark of the comp.
Yeah.
They were always going to be up for it. And from all reports in Newcastle during the week, there was a lot of talk around the game. There was a lot of hype. 5
in a row, which I hadn't realised. That really snuck up on me. So they've gone. We were sitting here giving Nathan Brown a bit of grief in our first couple of episodes. They've gone on some sort of streak there.
Well, they were 0-5.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Lost their first 5 and won their next 5. So
now all of a sudden that squad is living up to the expectation.
Yeah, I mean it's probably where everyone expected them to be prior to the season starting. They recruited well. They've got a good list.
Yeah,
relatively injury free now, they're playing some good footy. So
great guns. Bit of sad news. I noticed headline GI went missing over the Magic Round weekend. It's an obvious problem that our professional sports stars have, and I don't think it's just football. We see it with the swimmers. You see it with a lot of high-profile athletes that they really struggle to go back to normal life, or what's perceived as normal life. What's going on there is that you've played a bit of professional sports. Did you have any trouble integrating back into normal life?
I never got to that level to worry about coming down. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not the depression and the issues that GI is having is not. I mean, it's obviously in the spotlight because he's a professional athlete, but it's a society issue.
So do you think he had that problem before he finished playing footy, or what?
Well, I don't know, but depression is a big issue in society.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, these guys, as a professional footballer since when I was 17 or 18, everything's regimented, everything's structured, everything's laid out for him, and it's it's routine. To go from doing that for 13, 14 years, whatever he's been playing, to you do it one day, the next day you walk out of the club and you're like, what do I do? Where to from here?
Well, essentially he's still employed by the club
well,
too, right?
Yeah, he is, but I mean, he doesn't train, he doesn't look after himself the way he would have when he was playing.
There's a few people reacting online that, a few players sort of saying, well, you shouldn't even be running it on the paper. We shouldn't be talking about it now.
Because he's an ex-player?
No, just leave him alone, let him sort it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a headline. He's one of the greats for the last however many years of the game, so it's going to make the news. But I guess for me, and I know the clubs do have training and all these things in place to help the players post footy and away from footy as well. I know they offer them universities or TAFE or degrees or training while they're playing footy to basically help them have something when they do retire. But is there more that can be done? I don't know.
I've had the conversation with my sister because she's a performer, and she's used to, for the last 5 or 6 years, getting up on stage in front of a couple of thousand people and just experiencing that adrenaline rush. Now, no matter what happens in her personal life after she finishes dancing, she will never replicate that feeling.
No.
It doesn't matter how fulfilling. She will get a good job. She'll get a fulfilling job, but you'll never replicate that rush of being on stage in front of people, or running out onto the grass, full packed house, Suncorp Stadium, and you're the guy that they're cheering for. You're never going to replace that in day-to-day life, even as a commentator or as a journo or whatever you do after you leave. That adrenaline that pumps through you as you run out onto that field, you're never going to replace that.
No, and I guess these guys, well, any sports person is a competitor. They love that competitive feeling.
Yeah.
You know, everything they do is around competing and winning and succeeding. So to take that away from them, no doubt it's got to be hard to adapt.
Definitely.
Yeah, look, it's sad. I mean, GI's obviously had his issues throughout his career. It's probably been amplified now that he's retired.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to happen all too often.
There's got to be something they can do to try and find something else that makes them happy. But maybe they need a lot of coaching, and that says, hey, don't go looking for it post your footy career because you've had it. Enjoy that you had it, but move on with your life.
Well, I guess it's worth remembering too that the clubs probably tried to do their bit to ease him into retirement by keeping him around the club, giving him the the opportunity to coach like or being involved with the coaching like he is.
Definitely.
Yeah, a lot of guys finish their season at the last game of the year and then retire. That's it. You know, they've announced their retirement. That last game is their last game, and they walk away at the end of the year, and it's sail off into the sunset. So, I think GI's probably been a little bit lucky to retire when he did, and then have an opportunity. But obviously, he's got some issues there that he needs to sort out.
Righto. Let's. You've got the Origin teams in front of you. You're going to give them to me?
Yeah. Shall we run through that? We'll have to have a chat.
Locked, is it?
It is. No, we've got it here. Maybe before we do that, should we just give Junior a quick buzz? And
he's got something on tonight and wants to talk to us?
He's available. He's up and about after another win. So maybe we'll have a chat to him and then we'll touch on the Origin.
Hello, boys.
Junior. Winner, chicken dinner. What did I say? 13 plus.
13 plus. I know. I thought of you straight away. Yes, I did.
Well, we were saying earlier, Junior, it wasn't as comfortable during the course of the game until the last 5 or 6 or 10 minutes when they put a couple of late tries on.
Thankfully, I actually missed it. The kids put a movie on, and I may have had a bit of a nap on the couch yesterday afternoon, so I did miss the Storm game.
Yeah, no, you didn't. I mean, it wasn't most interesting, but they kept taking the two.
They did.
Storm, and I thought, we're not going to get from in front.
They must have known we were on.
We're not going to get dead set. I'm going, you're kidding. So, but anyway, all you
can do is get a winning ticket. Can't do any more than that.
That's right. And we can confirm you put on the correct
ticket. Yeah, we did. It was Bulldogs to win, so well done.
Yeah.
No, we're on, mate. So 190 we're up to. And who we got, Red? Who's the recipient? The North Burleigh.
Yeah, North Burleigh Nippers. Stay tuned. We will get there.
And they're up to 190. Rolling balance. We got a bit of a funny week this week, Junior, with the NRL. Obviously, Origin.
It is
week. So
yeah, it's tricky because it's a split round in the NRL, and with all the players out, and I think teams get announced tomorrow afternoon. That's another thing. It's not easy for me, boys.
You're up against it. But as I said to you earlier, there's a winner every day.
There is, every single day. Especially for you, John. So, yeah, that's all right. This week was a bit tricky. I had a look at the NRL, and, I think you just stay clear of that would probably be the safest option. But I think, the AFL.
You've got a bit of form in the AFL, Junior.
Yeah, and as I look through today, there tend to be teams that I keep warming to. When you look at, travel and previous games. So I think we're going to go to a team we've been to before. I think we had a bit of luck with them once, and then the Lions did them by 1 point 2 weeks ago.
The Crows.
Oh, no.
Crows. Back to the good old Crows, yeah.
Yeah, they should have they had the game in the bag against West Coast on the weekend, 32 or 33 points up, and let it slip. So they'll be dirty, no doubt.
Yeah, and that's two matches in a row. They sort of had the derby there in Adelaide that might have took a bit out of them. Then they played Brisbane, lost by 1, and then they let that one slip this week. I don't think they'll do it again. And looking, they're against Melbourne, and if you take the West Coast form for both sides, I think Crows got much closer to the Eagles than Melbourne did, and the line was pretty favourable. So that'll be the bet this week, boys. Crows versus Melbourne Saturday in Melbourne. And the Crows at the -6.5 at $1.09.
Crows -6.5 at 190. Like it, Ginny. In Melbourne, you say?
It is in
At the
Melbourne, yeah.
MCG?
So are we gonna throw the full
don't think
190 on there?
Of course we are.
Every week
Why
I
do you
get
keep saying
I get
this?
people contacting me every week. They want to know how much we're banking.
So we're having 190 on the Crows.
Well, I said last week, did you want to go 180 on the Crows and then like $10 on some sort of rough thing and on the track? No.
We're having 190 on
Okay.
the Crows.
Okay.
Yeah. And then next week, what we'll do, we'll take that because that'll get up, and then we'll take the 360,
Yeah.
and we might have a bit of fun on the Stradbroke.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a look at the horses this week. I think Oaks Day in Brisbane, and again a bit early just to have a look at fields coming out and whatnot. So hope we'll get this up, build a bank, and we might have a bit of fun on Study Day.
Stradbroke the week after, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I like it, Junior.
Righto. So hashtag Juniors Jaffa. We're at 190 and we're Crows -6.5 versus Melbourne in Melbourne.
At $1.90.
Yep.
$1.90. Righto.
Let it ride.
Thank you, Jake. Junior.
Thanks, boys.
On you, Junior.
We'll talk to you this time next week.
Have a good one, boys.
See you,
Cheers,
mate.
mate. Bye.
Cheers.
There we go. Back on the Crows.
Back on the Crows.
Back on the Crows. I think it's
Stone the Crows, didn't
not a bad bet, that one. I think Melbourne are pretty much shut up shop for the year.
Have they already?
They're done. Yeah.
Tanking already.
Well, I don't know if they're tanking. Maybe they're not that good, but time will tell.
Righto. Well, is that a good transition then? Oh, no, we've got to do the Origin teams.
Back
What are you
to
doing?
Origin. Back to the Origin. So, New South Wales obviously got named last night, Queensland this morning. For those that haven't seen or heard, we'll quickly run through. Firstly, the Queensland side. Ponga, Oates, Chambers, Morgan, Gagai, Munster, Daly, Cherry Evans, Arrow, Hunt, Papali, Kafusi, Gillette and Maguire. And the bench, Moses Mbai, Joe Offa Hangawi, Dylan Napa and David Fafita. So that's the Queensland squad.
So I've got the same junior club as one of those players, one of those debutants. That's why I know he's a good thing.
Which one?
Moses Mbai, former Noosa Pirate. That
Not-
tells me he's ready for Origin. He's good to go.
Not convinced, but we'll see on
Get behind him, mate.
Wednesday week.
Mate, the team's announced. No more speculation.
No,
Done
true.
deal. I would like to have seen Matty Scott there,
Yeah, Matty Scott. So,
and I would have put Morgan on the bench and played someone else in the centres.
yeah, we'll touch on that in a minute. But just quickly, the New South Wales side. Tedesco, Addo-Carr, Mitchell, Josh Morris, Kotrick, Walker and Cleary in the halves. Clemmer, Cook, Vaughan, Cordner, Frizzell and Travojevic. And their bench is Whiten, Payne Haas, Murray and Angus Crichton. So, pretty good side. Obviously, the one that I thought may have been there, which is not, and probably form's obviously got the better of him, but James Roberts, I thought they might have gone with him.
He's played for Wynnum on the weekend.
Oh, I know, but that's for no other reason. The Broncos don't. Well, he's out of favour with the Broncos, isn't he? I thought.
The days of grabbing blokes out of reserve grade are done.
I just thought they would have put him into the side. He performed last year in Origin. He's a big time player, plenty of speed. I mean, they've got a very, very quick outside backs there. So I thought they might have had Roberts.
They got mate. They got that many. They got enough good cattle. They don't need a bloke to pull a bloke out of reserve.
I mean,
grade.
obviously Josh Morris has been in good form this year.
People are saying he's too old. He worries me. He's always one of some of those things that he did in his last few Origin games, like the heroics that he did. He's an Origin player through and through.
No, he is, but I question whether he's definitely not as quick as he used to be, which was his number one attribute. But
I think it's defence though in Origin.
you know what you'll get with him. I mean, he's been there time and time.
Tell you
again.
what, Queensland, don't worry about loading up on his side of the field. The ball's going to Latrell. I can't see Morris getting a lot of ball. He's there to tackle his guts out. Watch me get proven wrong next week because I've got no idea
Cleary
what
and
I'm talking
Walker
about.
in the halves. Obviously, they went with Cleary. Showed some trust in him. He's obviously the future of that side.
So at least our spine from last year, so Queensland I'm talking about, a bit of consistency. So Ponga played that last game, had a blinder. You got Cherry, who's a 5'8", Munster. He's probably one of the best players in the game at the moment. Then you got Ben Hunt in the halves. I like our spine. Damien Cook is the only one in that team that I'd even think about putting in the Australian side in front of ours.
Yeah,
Maybe Tedesco, he's not bad either.
Yeah, Tedesco goes good.
He'd be on the wing butt in my test team, Tedesco.
Yeah, I mean, I think New South Wales has picked a very good side. The bench is the biggest concern for me. I think Queensland's bench is weak compared to their bench.
Did Wallace make the team or is he 18?
No, he's Wallace. No, didn't even make the
Didn't make it at
the
all.
squad. So obviously, I mean,
That's good for the Titans.
Yeah, and his form hasn't been anywhere near it this year.
No.
So
But I think he should have a good game on the weekend.
So Wallace, Cohen Hess, and Gavin Cooper were the three omissions, I guess, from last year that missed out. I mean, Cohen Hess has been injured and hasn't come back in
Yeah, that's interesting.
the form that he's previously showed. Gavin Cooper's been quiet.
That's probably reflected in the Cowboys having a so-so season.
Yeah.
Shout out to, on the spot, Pete Coventry up in
Big
Townsville. I think he wants to start some sort of a battle this week because they're very much died in the wool Cowboys fans. I told him I'd give him is it On the Ranch? On the Ranch. Sorry, On the Ranch is their podcast. Shout out, boys.
The Titans will get them covered this week.
We'll smash them.
Yeah, so as you say, Ponga at fullback. I mean, he's obviously 12 months on from his debut last year. Excitement machine.
Play to get. You can just see when he gets the ball. There's just something about players that can find the try line. Like when he runs the ball and he hits a gap, you know he's going through. Like even when they've got hands on him and he's not a big guy, but he's exploding through that hole. Like, and then even when they've tackled him, like he was reaching out. Like he's a footy player. He knows how to get through a hole. Yeah. Every time he gets the ball, I'm excited. I can't wait to watch him play next Wednesday night.
I mean, and the other one, I suppose, for Queensland is not taking a designated hooker into the game. Obviously, Hunt's been selected at hooker, and to due respects, he's played a few games at hooker, and when he has, either at club or at Origin, he's done okay. Yeah. So I think he'll do all right there.
You got to counteract what Cook's going to bring for them. So maybe Hunt's not as explosive, but it gives us that extra creative player out of the spine.
Yeah, so game 1, Wednesday week at Suncorp.
Is it at Suncorp?
Game 1 at Suncorp, yeah.
There's no chance then.
Game 1 Suncorp, game 2 in Perth, and game 3 back in Sydney.
So we'll have it wrapped up, heading to Sydney for a dead rubber.
Yeah, I'm very parochial, but I'm not as confident as you, Big Red. I think we're up against it.
We got them covered.
I hope you're right. So yeah, time will tell.
Especially when they start writing us off about how good the Blues are. We know.
That's when we like it.
I don't think Cleary's travelling good enough to play Origin.
Big question for me was Luke Keary. Would have he been picked? You know, Walker's form's been unbelievable, and
so while we're there, the tackle on Ponga on the weekend, I thought that was play on. There's a lot spoken about that. It was a tad late, but he essentially wrapped him up and hit him hard. Like I don't think there's a lot in that. And then the one on Keary, well, there's certainly no foul play there. That was just one of those real bad back slappers where your head hits the ground.
He just landed awkwardly.
Do you know what? Me and my mate sit next to each other, just going, "That's why mothers don't let their kids play football." Those two tackles there, they were pretty brutal.
A couple of big hits.
Yeah. Keary, is it true he wrote to the former NRL CEO and asked if he could play for Queensland?
Well, I haven't heard that, but why wouldn't
I'm
you?
telling you here now. You heard it here first on Beers and Banter, but you probably didn't. You probably heard it elsewhere. I'm pretty sure
Why wouldn't you
he
want to play
wanted
for
to
him?
be a Queenslander.
Where's he from?
They'll never pick him. Born in New South Wales, but I think he grew up in Ipswich.
Okay.
So that's why he's ended up at Blue. But his heart's in Queensland.
Yeah. Well, you can't blame him, can you?
No, you can't.
God's country.
What are we doing? Going on to AFL?
AFL, yeah. So
I have been telling you on this
here we
program for weeks.
Here we
GRUB.
Here we go. Obviously, Gary Ablett you're talking about.
Gary Ablett is a grub.
Well, 3 weeks in a row he's been...
They've got him this time for sure.
I think he'll go this time.
He's obviously got a holiday booked and he's trying to find some time off.
I think, well, he's got a new baby, so maybe he wants to spend some extra time with the baby.
Oh, you've put 2 and 2 together for me.
Yeah, so I think he'll get a week on that. I mean, it was probably wasn't reckless. It was just stupid, to be fair. It was just a little love tap.
It wasn't even a jersey punch. It was just a straight up jab.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Miles, the Suns player, probably reacted to make it look worse than what it might have been. But yeah, I mean, to go, what's he played 300 and something games and never be suspended, to then 3 weeks in a row be in front of the judiciary is...
So that's no. Well, it's not confirmed, but there's no Brownlow for Gary Ablett this year.
Well, not if you get suspended, no. I mean, if you get rubbed out for a game, you can't win the Brownlow.
Do you want another beer?
Please.
Oh, you better have that then.
That's what you have it. Yeah,
Have I got another one there?
I'll have a gold.
Oh, righto, you go the gold.
Yeah, so Ablett will miss a week. Last night, I watched the late game, Sunday afternoon game, Fremantle Brisbane over in Perth, and it was a belter.
Sounds like a real barn burner.
It was a great game. Fremantle, it was back and forwards, a lot of lead changes, but game was all tied with about a minute and a half to go.
Were you having trouble sleeping? Is that why you put that game on?
And it finished at 7 p.m, so it was just before kids' bath time. And both teams are going pretty good, so I thought it would be a good game. So I tuned in.
Yeah.
And game all level, and the siren goes, and one of the Freo players had it on about 50-metre mark, and obviously had to score. Any score was going to win the game, and he hit the post for a point, the goal post, and got the
I reckon
point.
hitting the post should be like -2.
It's a skill.
Or 7. So you reckon hitting the post should be 7?
Yeah, get an extra
Yeah,
point.
right. I'd pay that. Yeah, right.
So yeah, Freo got up by a point after siren, so that was a belter of a game. Big crowd over there in Perth. I spoke about Melbourne earlier, but I think they're in big strife.
Who lost their coach over the weekend? Was that North
That was
Melbourne?
North Melbourne. So they had Brad Scott. They had a mutual agreement to part ways. He's been there 10 years, so it's a pretty good tenure for a head coach.
10 years and 10 weeks. Why do it mid-season?
I think.
Are they gone already? I don't know.
Well, no, they're not gone. I think it's probably more around working on something this year, and they've got an interim coach, Reece Shaw. So whether they maybe want to have a look at him for the rest of the year, but I mean, there's probably never a right time. But I think he went to the club and thought that it was probably time that he stepped aside. So I think once you got that mentality, it's probably better sooner rather than later.
Yeah, fair enough.
But GWS.
Hey, sorry to go back to the Lions game.
Yeah.
Was that the one, the injection? What's the problem there?
So for those that didn't see it, McCluggage, I think it was, their big ruckman, hit midway through the third quarter or early in the third quarter. It looked like he was actually going down to the rooms, but he obviously went around the corner in the race, and the doctors were with him. They gave him an injection.
Yeah.
In clear view of the camera. Channel 7 cameras picked it up and obviously broadcast it. For me, I mean, everyone knows it happens.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be a player that hasn't had an injection during the course of their career.
What is it? It was a cortisone or something?
Well, no, it's just basically numbs. It was an AC joint, so it just basically numbs the shoulder so he can go back on the field.
Play on?
Well, it is, but
Wasn't shooting peptides into his arms.
No, but for me, that should be down in the rooms. That shouldn't be. There's kids watching the football on a Sunday afternoon. They don't need to see.
Well, is that the player's fault or is it it's the coverage's fault, right?
It is, but if you take the player down into the room, the cameras don't
There's cameras in there.
not in all parts of the change room.
Yeah, right.
And the doctors would know that. I think it was more a case of
Hurry up.
we need to get him back on the field as quick as we can.
Yeah.
It's probably just not a good look for young kids, that's all.
Probably should have just squirted it with some magic water or something. Would have been right.
Play on.
Teaspoon of cement. Sorry, GWS.
So GWS broke they've got a bit of an MCG hoodoo.
Yeah.
Never played well at the MCG, but knocked over Melbourne there on the weekend. So as I say, I think Melbourne are pretty much done and dusted now. They look shot. They probably look like Penrith did in the NRL last week before they won, but I can't see Melbourne turning it around in a hurry. So that's they were obviously one of the fancies at the start of the year, having got to the prelim last year.
Yeah.
A lot of people had them as, if not one of the teams to beat this year. So it looks like they'll finish right down the bottom.
Yeah, right.
And then the only other, I suppose, news in the AFL, they have mid-season rookie draft tonight. So this is a new thing they brought in this year. So basically, clubs, it's a mid-season draft, needs to be a rookie player. So basically someone that's not AFL listed, I guess.
Yeah.
And the idea, I actually don't mind the idea, but it's based around clubs that have been hammered in the first half of the year with injuries, actually have an opportunity to go and pick up not a ready-made player, but...
And where's that kid playing right now in the AFLQ or in the VFL?
In the VFL or
SAFL?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The waffle over in Western Australia. So they're playing senior footy. They're a ready-made footballer.
Yeah.
It just gives the club an opportunity to... And that's... We've seen a lot of guys retire mid-season. In the last few weeks, there's been a number of AFL players have actually retired.
Yeah.
With, in the back of the mind, and Heath Grundy was one for Sydney last week,
With
him retiring, the club now has an opportunity to go and replace him mid-season with...
What do you think of the talk through the week of like a rookie... Well, I don't know if it's a draft, but essentially when you sign a young kid to an NRL club that you can't pay them more than $100,000 a year for their first 3 years. It stifles blokes like Kalen Ponga who deserve to be on big money because they're going gangbusters. But it would, for the case of Ash Taylor, he's on $1 million a year. That gets lumped onto him as pressure. The club actually struggles because they've tried to retain him and all that sort of stuff. Like it happens in the NFL and the leagues overseas that they can't earn more than a certain amount for their first 3 years. So it stops clubs poaching them, but it also stops them getting ahead of themselves and where they actually are in their career.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, these are young guys coming into a system. I guess it rewards, we've got salary cap, so it rewards or gives the guys that have been in the system, been around, earned their stripes, gives them the availability to then get more of that salary cap. When you don't want a young player coming in, and no matter how good he is, you don't want one player that comes in as a new kid. You don't want him to take a massive chunk of the salary cap.
So there's pros and cons, right? So exactly what you said. You've got some bloke that's just toiled away 200 or 300 games. It might be on a couple $100,000 a year, and there's a kid fresh out of high school, and they give him $1 million a year, and it's the bloke with 200 or 300 games that turns out the consistent performance week in, week out. The flip side is if you stifle what people can earn, someone like Jarrell Yao Yi, imagine if his first 3 years were capped and then he probably didn't make a whole lot of money anyway, but exciting young player, superstar, could have been a superstar, but ends up getting injured, career over, done and dusted. Do we really want to stop kids making money straight off the bat?
No, but I'm not convinced that a club would be prepared to do that for a young kid either. I mean, you look at perfect example, Ash Taylor.
Yeah.
2 years ago when we signed him for $1 million to try and keep him, and he'd only played 30 games.
Yeah.
We paid him $1 million because he looked like he was going to be a future superstar. He hasn't lived up to that.
No.
But
is that his fault, or is that like?
I'm not saying it's his fault, but I think if the club had their time again, would they go and offer him $1 million a year, based on the back of 20 first grade games? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's the whole. When you've got salary caps, and you've got recruitment and everything else, and drafts and all this stuff that we have in these Australian sports, I guess that's the backbone of a success for a club, isn't it? On how well
missed
they,
opportunity. We could have done a live broadcast for the AFL draft tonight.
yeah, I don't think
We
it
could have
would
helped.
be,
We could have helped people with insomnia all over Australia.
I think the draft itself will help them with that.
Can we move on, or you got more there?
No, that's it for the AFL. So
Just a quick one. Raptors. I know we don't want to just do results on this show, but that was pretty cool. Raptors have gone through to the NBA Finals against the Warriors,
yep,
beating
they beat Milwaukee
4-2.
So first time in franchise history that Toronto's got to the NBA playoffs.
Canada.
Look,
What about Drake? Do you reckon he looks like a bit of a knob on the sidelines when he's standing up and carrying on?
He
It's like,
loves it,
sit
doesn't
down, mate.
loves it. I can't see Toronto getting anywhere near the Warriors.
No,
but,
not even close.
yeah,
That's where the Jaffa should have went. What are the Warriors paying?
don't know, but they'd be red hot favourites.
Get him on the phone.
While we're talking basketball, you saw Simmons came out and committed to the Boomers for
Yeah,
the.
did we talk about? We didn't talk about that last
Well,
week.
he's only recently committed.
Well, that's not good.
We got a phone in.
Oh,
We got a loyal viewer
Zach.
phoning in.
Zach from Townsville. It's 6:10, buddy.
Zach,
Give yourself
ready.
an uppercut. We should have got him on the show.
He wouldn't be still working, surely.
Must
So he's now committed to the Boomers. I think it's something like 7 or 8 NBA listed players
Yeah,
that we're going to have in the Boomer squad. So
gonna go gangbusters.
it should be good.
Yeah.
Monaco, did you see the Monaco?
Oh, mate, I didn't see the
Great.
end, but it is my favourite weekend of the
It
year.
is a good sporting event.
It's
Isn't
just
it?
hard. I don't know what's going on there. F1's pushed it back an extra hour. I don't know whether that's since the American owners have come on board to try and push it into the American market a bit harder. But 11 o'clock kickoff means it doesn't finish till 1. So I got past halfway, but struggled after that. So
The thing that I've always thought every time I watch Monaco, and I try and watch it a little bit, is how many people around the world, and I know you've been there, but how many people actually have the Monaco Grand Prix on their bucket list
mate,
event to go to?
if it's not on your bucket list, put it on.
Yeah.
Amazing event. Had a bit of significance. So Nicky Lauda passed away in between rounds. He was obviously a giant of the F1 sport. So there's a lot of tributes to him. He was obviously before my time, but you could clearly see he had a massive impact on the sport. So it was an emotional win for Lewis Hamilton. Ricardo had a great start. He went from his P6, P7 straight into 5th. And I thought, here we go. He only needs Max to do something stupid and we're a chance of a podium here. But they pitted through it in a safety car, which you'd think, oh yeah, safe bet, pit in the safety car. But there was a lot of guys didn't pit, and it pushed him to the back of the field. And he was losing time at a rapid rate of knots. So he said though that he didn't get a chance to really show what the car could do because Monaco, because it's so tight, it's very hard to pass. So.
Yeah. But I heard his post race interview, and he was filthy with the tactics from the team. So I think again they've let him down.
Yeah. Also, while we're on motorsport, Will Power, he was trying to go back to back in one of the biggest races in motorsport, which they call it. It's part of the Triple Crown. So you got the F1 Championship. Yep. The Indy 500 and the Le Mans 24-hour, they call that the Triple Crown, which Fernando Alonso was trying to actually complete that this year but didn't qualify. But Will Power was he's Aussie from Toowoomba. He was the Indy 500 champion last year, finished P5 last night or this morning. So I watched the start of that one. That was pretty cool too. So I went straight, I fell asleep, woke up about 2:30 into the Indy 500.
Perfect. What a night.
Yeah, struggling today. But Lee Diffie, so a little bit of trivia there. I don't think I said this on the show. Lee Diffie was the first ever Australian to commentate that race for NBC. So it was the first time that NBC had the television rights. So people that remember Lee Diffie from V8s.
Yep.
So it's quite an achievement to have an Aussie calling that race, one of the biggest races in America. Or biggest races in the world. So
massive.
Yeah. Hey, Steve Smith. Get in. Scores 100 against England in England, leading into the World Cup. Game on.
So I haven't seen a lot of it, but is the World Cup? Are they playing two? Each team's playing two lead-up games. Is that what I saw or read somewhere?
Yeah.
So they've all got 2 games arranged as a pre-World Cup
something
warm-up
like that.
type tournament.
So we get a look at the decks over there, I guess.
So we've played. Was this our first game against England?
Must have been. Saw a few people having a whinge. It's down to 10 teams, so they've made it really hard. They're not where a lot of sports are trying to grow globally. Cricket's like contracted, so they've excluded teams that were on the fringe from the World Cup, which I don't know. I guess they can do what they want, but teams like the Netherlands, Ireland, not included.
Well, obviously they've had qualification matches, events, whatever you want to call it, in the lead up to the World Cup.
So apparently it's all about the dollars. So it's all about basically broadcast rights. They just want to show games, Pakistan versus India, Australia versus England, that sort of thing.
Well, traditionally, matches against Bangladesh and Ireland and all these other teams, Scotland, have been absolute laughing stock of the competition. So maybe they're trying to get rid of that. Yeah. Make every game as at least a decent match.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be good.
I've almost forgotten Sandpaper Gate. Steve Smith's looking good. Aussies are looking good. I reckon we're going to come home with some silverware.
Yeah, look, there's definitely a lot of hype around the Australian side. The lead-up form's been good.
Uniforms look good.
They do. I think from what you read and hear, the sides gelled together as good as can be expected with those two back in the team. So, yeah, I think it'll be good.
Righto. You got anything else on your sheet over there, bud?
No, mate, that's a wrap for this week for me.
We said we were going to go deep on issues, and we did the same thing again. But what I want to do, I want everyone to start sort of peppering us on social media. Tell us what you want us to talk about on a Monday night. We do plan to try and get consistent on a Monday night. We've got a few guest speakers coming in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. I've got a little shout out. I popped over to Wal's team, the Logan Lightning, were playing in the FFA Cup just over here at Burleigh from my house. They had a win 3-2 over the Bulldogs. So I was cheering for Burleigh though, because once you're a Burleigh boy, you're always a Burleigh boy. But they did get up. Shout out to Logan Lightning. Do you know what that made me realise though? I really love watching local sport and haven't been doing it a whole lot over the last couple of years. So I'm going to put that on the list of things to do over the next couple of months.
It's funny. I said to the kids on the weekend, we need to get down and watch the Burleigh Bears in the local comp. I mean, you can't beat going to that Burleigh Bears ground.
Just that,
Busy Park
that cool night. The locals started to pour in with their deck chairs and that sort of thing. And then we had, the cold grass starting to get wet. And just that smell that you get. Oh, it was really good. And so that's the plan over the next couple of months. Try and watch some more local sport. Yep. So I don't know what's going on with that camera. It's still in my head. It's still in my head in. You can find us on all the socials at Beers and Banter, Twitter, Facebook, and what's the other one? Instagram. You can find us on the podcast app. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube. Please share whenever.
Send in your requests.
Really appreciate when our there's a few of you that really get behind the show and share it. It does have a massive impact on the amount of reach that we get. So please keep on doing that. That's all I've got this week. Cheers.